Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Ninja, Shadow of Tear. This movie tells the story of a martial arts master who teams up with an old friend to sharpen his battle skills and seek revenge for his brutally murdered wife. Will he succeed in avenging his wife? Let's find out in Ninja, Shadow of Tear. Ninja, Shadow of Tear begins by showing a man named Casey Bowman who is at a jewelry store to buy a necklace, which he will present to his wife, Namiko. However, unbeknownst to Casey, two robbers are stalking him and intend to take all his belongings. Casey was able to easily defeat the two men and return home. Arriving at home, he then gave the necklace to Namiko, who was pregnant with their first child. Namiko looks very happy to receive a gift from her husband. That night, Namiko craved chocolate and asked her husband to buy her chocolate right away. Casey complied with his wife's request and went to the supermarket to buy chocolate as an understanding husband. He realized that his wallet was not there when he was about to pay. He then rushed home. At the same time, someone infiltrates Namiko's place and prepares to kill the woman. Arriving home, Casey was shocked to find his wife had been killed, with a barbed wire gun mark on her neck. On the day of the funeral, Casey is visited by his best friend, who is also a student of Takeda sensei, named Nakabara. The man expressed his deep condolences for Namiko's death. Nakabara then offers Casey to train at his dojo in Thailand to ease the pain of losing his beloved wife. But Casey refuses the offer because he wants to find his wife's killer to take revenge. Casey assumed that the robbers who confronted him after returning from the locket shop were involved in Namiko's murder. He then went to a dojo to look for clues. Arriving at the dojo, Casey got into a fight with several people practicing at the dojo. He finally managed to find the whereabouts of the two robbers and stalk them. He ambushes and kills them in a dark alley. Not finding any information regarding the murder of his wife, Casey decides to follow Nakabara's advice and goes to Thailand. Nakabara greeted Casey with joy and introduced him to his students upon arrival. Casey then stays temporarily at Nakabara's dojo while investigating the Namiko murder case and finding the culprit. One day, while sparring with Lucas, one of Nakabara's students, Casey suddenly lost his temper and brutally attacked him with a bakken. Nakabara then reminded him to control his emotions by asking him to undergo fire walking training. But Casey stopped halfway because the memories of Namiko were still etched clearly in his mind. To get rid of his boredom, he went for a drink to a nearby bar and got into a fight with some drunken customers. The following day, Casey, feeling unwell from the alcohol the night before, was about to pick fruit in the garden. But Lucas, who realized this, took the initiative to replace his duties and asked him to rest. Casey thanked Lucas and immediately returned to his room. In his bed, Casey slept restlessly, as if his trained instincts were warning him of something bad to come. Sure enough, Casey got word that Lucas was found dead in the garden and he was killed by the same barbed wire weapon used on Namiko. Casey talks about this to Nakabara, who knows that the barbed wire weapon is very identical to Goro. Nakabara then reveals to Casey that his father and Takeda sensei, along with a man named Isamu, are the three best students of the Koga dojo. When their sensei died, Isamu challenged Takeda to rule the dojo. Takeda managed to kill Isamu in battle and was appointed the grandmaster who would lead the dojo. Isamu's younger brother, Goro, witnesses the fight and vows to avenge his brother's death, even if it takes 3 generations. Currently, Goro is the leader of one of the largest drug cartels in Myanmar. Nakabara then urges Casey to return to the United States because Takeda's son-in-law makes him one of Goro's targets. Instead, Casey asks Nakabara to help him find Goro, who has been so protected in Myanmar that even the authorities bow to him. Nakabara then gives Casey an old map of Burma from his father's time in World War II, with a sign indicating the location of the buried ninja weapons. After thanking Nakabara, Casey immediately headed to Myanmar, where he met a very friendly taxi driver named Mike, who drove him to an inn. Casey began to prepare everything, such as various ninja weapons and deadly poison. That night, with Mike's help, Casey manages to find a bar frequented by drug dealers. While he was sitting alone enjoying his drink, a man came up to him and offered him something. Wanting to find information about Goro, Casey followed the man somewhere. There, Casey mentions Goro's name and the man looks suspicious and calls his friends to gang up on Casey. But Casey can easily defeat them all and get information about Goro. When he returned to his hotel to rest, the police who had conspired with Goro raided Casey's room and intended to arrest him for being an American spy. Casey tried to escape, but because the number of police was too many and armed, he was immediately paralyzed and taken to prison. In prison, he gets various tortures from the police. But then, he pretended to be unconscious to get the police to stop his torture. When Casey was about to be put in his cell, he woke up and beat the police who took him into the cell and then stole their clothes. Casey, who is currently disguised as a policeman, tries to sneak out of prison. But before that, he managed to get information about Goro's whereabouts from one of the police officers who said that Goro was hiding in the middle of the forest. After getting out of prison, Casey again asks for Mike's help to take him to the forest where Goro is hiding. Casey's arrival in the forest was already known by Goro's men who were on patrol. Casey then fought with them and managed to kill all of Goro's men, then took their weapons. When going deeper into the forest, Casey finally found the graves of the Japanese soldiers referred to by Nakabara. He then armed himself with a box full of ninja weapons buried under a wooden tombstone with the Nakabara clan symbol. After preparing everything, Casey continued his journey and managed to find Goro's hideout. He then sneaks into Goro's headquarters and kills Goro's men one by one. After that, he blows up the base and confronts Goro's bodyguard and right-hand man named Mayat. A fierce battle ensues between Casey and Mayat. Although Casey is quite overwhelmed by Mayat, he finally manages to kill him by stabbing his heart and breaking his neck. Casey then goes to Goro at his base and fights the old man. Casey managed to slash Goro's stomach, but the man could still get up. Goro wraps barbed wire around Casey's neck in the middle of the fight, but Casey uses all his strength to break free and manages to fend off the attack, then throws Goro to the ground before decapitating him. Long story short, Casey, who had avenged his revenge, then returned to Nakabara's dojo. The man welcomed Casey home happily. While the two were chatting, a package delivery man came to see Nakabara. Casey then realized that the emblem on the delivery man's knife was exactly the same as the emblem of the robbers who robbed him in Japan. It was finally revealed that Nakabara was the one who killed Namiko and Lucas. Nakabara turns out to be a drug dealer and he deliberately uses Casey to eliminate the Goro cartel for his ambition to monopolize the drug trade in Southeast Asia. Nakabara then gives Casey the choice to join him or die. It's obvious that Casey doesn't want to join forces with Namiko's killers. The two men end up engaging in a fierce battle until Casey kicks Nakabara through the thin wall, revealing a room full of ancient artifacts. They then continue to fight in the room with guns, with Casey slashing Nakabara in the midsection and Nakabara stabbing Casey's left shoulder with his wakizashi. Nakabara then lunged at Casey, but he grabbed the barbed wire and wrapped it around Nakabara's neck, killing him. After Nakabara's death, Casey then reveals Nakabara's true motives to Hiroshi, one of the students at the dojo. Hiroshi opens a package addressed to Nakabara which turns out to contain drugs. Knowing that Nakabara's actions will damage the dojo's reputation, Hiroshi declares the incident never happened and thanks Casey for revealing everything. After getting his revenge, Casey returns to Japan and drops Namiko's locket in the pool, bringing closure to his loss.